The interview with the Minister General of the Order of Friars Minor, Father Michael Perry, who arrived in the Holy Land for the 5th day of the custody chapter. For the first time in history, the mosaics of the Basilica of the Nativity in Bethlehem have been restored. A closer look at the open building site and at the work in progress on the columns. A group of 43 people came from Peru to make a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. The trip was organized by the John 19 Catholic Television. The story of Agnes Shahade and the House of Grace in Haifa, an example of how to put into practice the mission, visiting the prisoners. In the 5th day of their meetings, the friars of the custody of the Holy Land gathered in chapter were joined by the presence of the Minister General of the Order of Friars Minor, Father Michael Perry. A moment for the group photo. Behold, I make all things new. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive? With this quote from the book of Isaiah, the Minister General began his message addressed to the friars of the province of the Holy Land, defined as the pearl of the Franciscan mission. Amid changes, the evangelical and charismatic identity of the mission.
Credo che viviamo in un mondo oggi tanti cambiamenti per I bene anche.
I believe that today we live in a world that is undergoing so many changes for good and for evil. We go through a change that offers us the opportunity to deepen our sense of identity and belonging, and also our sense of orientation for the future. And this affects the custody at this time. This affects its identity, which is evangelical, charismatic, Franciscan. This is the vocation of the Holy Land and of the custody, to celebrate and remember the mission of the resurrected one. That is the importance of Jesus Christ in today's world, especially in the extremely difficult situation that we are living and that we are aware of around the world. So I think that this is a time for gathering at the custody of the Holy Land, and this is also an opportunity for the whole order and for the whole church to reflect on values. The first value is dignity. Human Christian dignity. The second is our joint responsibility, born of our identity and dignity, that will enable us to respect and enforce respect for all of humanity. The third value is cooperation, working together with all mankind, with other Christians, and with Muslims in order to create the conditions for a life that God wants and not for what we want, to create the conditions for a future of peace, a future of reconciliation, a future of progress, of the conditions under which all humanity can find its space.
In cui tutta l'umanità può trovare il suo spazio.
Father Michael Perry then spoke of the challenge of the Franciscans in the Middle East, mainly in Syria.
I believe that the permanence of the Friars Minor is a challenge for everyone, and that this is, first of all, our vocation in Syria today. Show that God has not abandoned his people. The Friars Minor are the representatives of Christ and representatives and ambassadors of reconciliation. This is their double dimension. We are surely there to console the population with everyone's help and with everything we receive from outside. We are here to materially help these people, to help Christians, Muslims, or any other groups.
Qualsiasi.
Do not be afraid, but be men of bliss, stressed the Minister General in his introductory speech.
The
message is what Christ told his apostles, not to be afraid, but not just stand still. There is no question about that. God is inviting us to become, to create, to see, and already imagine the conditions of God's kingdom here in the Holy Land and everywhere in the custody. Our task is to present ourselves and live as men of bliss, showing a different future for all.
Futuro diverso per tutti.
In Bethlehem, a new treasure was uncovered. After the delicate restoration of the roof and the wall, tile after tile, month after month, the skilled hands of the restorers of the Italian firm Pazienti Spa brought the mosaics of the Basilica of the Nativity back to their former glory. A really important restoration. The original 2,000 square meters are now reduced to 150. Breathtaking beauty amidst a riot of colors and glittering gold. These mosaics literally regained their shine.
Il lavoro di restauro che è avvenuto oggi.
The restoration work that took place today is extraordinary under a very important point of view, because it has never happened before. The remaining scenes are the incredulity of St. Thomas, the Ascension, the Transfiguration on that side, the entry of Christ into Jerusalem. In the central aisle, on the other hand, we have the remains of a very large work of art that depicts 24 angels who would have been on top between the windows. Below are the ecumenical councils and the provincial councils. Below, we have the lineage of Christ from the Gospel of Matthew.
Vangelo di Matteo.
I have been told that precisely during the restoration works in Bethlehem on the nave wall, a seventh angel mosaic came to light, and together with the other six, it forms a sort of procession toward the place that commemorates the mystery of birth. These were Pope Francis's words, addressed to all participants at the Assembly of the Reunion of Aid Agencies for the Oriental Churches. His words highlighted a wonderful finding.
Una ricerca su 2000 metri.
We searched 2,000 square meters of plaster with a thermographic camera and other means to get to find some parts of mosaics that were plastered. We found the seventh angel that was concealed by layers of plaster and also hidden because of only half of its head was visible. This angel was covered because it was not presentable.
Chiuso, diciamo, perché non era presentato.
Questa è una tecnica.
This is a technique used on Byzantine wall mosaics. For example, they were observed from below. The gold background of the different characters, the various situations depicted, were made with the inclined tesserae of gold, which, with the incident light and the reflected ray of the sun, was to create an ethereal light around the character.
Personaggio.
Art that becomes a concrete realization, the result of a great ecumenical gesture that at this time brings together the Basilica of the Nativity to that of the Holy Sepulchre.
Elena
built them at the same time, and their restoration work is also taking place at the same time. Wonderful things are also being uncovered there, but the splendor of these mosaics, however, is unique. On the walls around the crib of Jesus, there are documents of the first 6 ecumenical councils on one side and the local councils on the other. Truly, the communion has already taken place here and is guided by the angels that lead us to the birthplace of Jesus. If we look at Jesus and at the way the light surrounds Jesus' figure, it makes us think of Jesus lighting up the whole history of the church.
Tutta la storia della Chiesa.
St. John the Evangelist, St. John the Baptist, and St. Damien are just some of the saints depicted on the 50 columns of the Nativity, waiting to be uncovered. For this reason, the campaign Adopt a Column was launched to raise funds and promoted by Ziad al-Bandak, the Palestinian minister and head of the Committee for the Restoration of the Basilica.
Le colonne sono circa 5.
The columns are about 50. 30 of which are painted with depictions of saints. The black smoke covers them almost entirely, and the first 2 meters were consumed by the hands of the pilgrims, thus removing the pictoric area. Tempera painting is directly on the stone. The conditions of the paintings are critical. The color was heavily damaged for many reasons.
Usato fortemente.
The pilgrims who will come to the Holy Land will be able to not only enjoy a greater beauty compared to the past, but also appreciate beauty that speaks to the heart, mind, and spirit. How long does it take to change a man's heart? Less than a week. This is what the faces and words of 43 Peruvian pilgrims express. They arrived in the Holy Land on June 7th to 16th with a wish to return to the roots of their faith and pass it on to others. It's not easy to describe. I am living above the clouds, and I can say that spiritually and humanly, I am profoundly touched.
Me siento muy emocionada.
I am very moved by this trip to the Holy Land. I thank the Lord who brought me here because of His love for me. I walk where He walked. I follow in His footsteps in order to be able to proclaim the gospel to my brothers.
Seguir evangelizando, llevar a mis hermanos, a mis prójimos.
The pilgrimage takes place every year and is partly organized by JN19 Catholic Television, JN19 under the leadership of its director, Father Manuel Rodriguez. I think this is a very special and unforgettable place that inspires us to continue to live our faith. Here you can perceive the live and direct message of the stones, the water, the paths, and especially the places where Jesus performed miracles. The group began its journey from Galilee. On Thursday, June 9th, the group attended Eucharistic adoration in the Basilica of the Annunciation in Nazareth. Later, they visited the important places of the Gospel in different regions and countries of the Holy Land, all the way to Jerusalem. In the Holy City, the pilgrims walked step by step the Via Dolorosa amid songs and prayers. This is a journey that everyone should experience. It is unfortunate that it is far away. However, many people who wish to come here but were not able to are spiritually present. We will tell them everything. We will bring photos and videos to allow them to see, so that at least spiritually it will be as if they had come.
Es un cambio de vida.
It was a life-changing experience from the first time we arrived. From now on, every time we will hear the Gospels, our mind will come back here, to these places that we saw, where we prayed and sang, where we listened to our guides' elucidations, where we listened to the Gospel. This is important to strengthen our faith and at the same time to pass it on to others.
More power, more of you in my life.
Anwar has faced some difficulties in life, and his choices led him to a point of no return.
When I was about 14, I started using soft drugs, and then I gradually switched to the use of harder drugs. During this time, I was arrested and released several times and always went back to drugs. I never have started treatment or sought the help of someone to abandon that habit.
The story of Anwar began to change when he found the House of Grace in Haifa. This house was founded in 1982 by Agnes Shahade and by her husband to help ex-prisoners reintegrate into society.
My husband Camille had a friend who was imprisoned for a long time, and through him he learned to know how the life in prison was, and also especially for the people who had to leave or could leave prison but had nowhere to go. They couldn't go back to their families because it was broken, or they were not allowed to go back, and they couldn't manage alone. So Camille thought that it would be very important to do something for them, to have a house or a home, and to give them the chance to start anew.
The Catholic Church invites the faithful to meditate on and to practice the works of mercy, especially in this Jubilee year instituted by Pope Francis. I was a prisoner and you visited me, were Jesus' words taken from the Gospel of Matthew, which inspired the Church to define the care for prisoners as one of the works of mercy.
Through the people living here who were really suffering a lot and still believing in good things and in things could change, that gave me a lot of things to think about and to see how great Jesus is. the one who is always accepting us and always forgiving us. I'm not better than the one who was in prison, and I have lots of things people have to forgive me for.
Camille and Agnes lived mercy in a radical way and gave great confidence to those who were rejected by society.
My parents liked the idea of us growing among these people. We sat at the same table for meals. When my parents had to go out, former thieves, ex-murderers, ex-drug dealers looked after us. It was a unique and very beautiful experience. Today I work as a counselor in the House of Grace. I owe it to Agnes and her children, who chose me and encouraged me to train as a social worker. Thank God I was able to do it and to find this job. I try to help young people who come here based on my life experience and on the path to recovery from addiction.
Constant practice of a work of mercy through the life and the institution founded by Agnes and Camille has given and continues to give a new opportunity and a hope to people who are marginalized by society.
I dream of being able to get married, to raise my children, and to continue doing the job I started while I lived here in the reintegration process.